TV studios. This is the Dam Sports Show on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam.
The Packers have a pivotal divisional matchup with the Lions. The Badgers try to get to 6-3 in Iowa City. Beaver Dam tries to shock the galloping ghost in the second round of the playoffs tonight. And we round out the show with our Friday picks. Charlie Dern joins me today as Corey Sparks is en route to Kaukauna for that playoff game on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. That game's tonight at 6:40. Charlie, let's just get going here. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on. It's going to be a great football weekend, so I'm looking forward to everything going on this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. You're kind of turning into our Friday default guy. So every time we get you here, it's like high energy, about to go into the weekend. Big games. Each time it feels like pivotal games, like we said, as we got someone trying to explode the office here behind us. But Charlie, so let's jump, I guess, immediately into it. The Packers have that massive game with the Lions this week, a game that I guess probably a few days ago we thought it was probably going to be a little less 50-50. Jordan Love might be out, but now all of a sudden weather sounds like it's going to be a factor. Malik Willis, who knows? We don't know who's starting yet. And the Lions, they're playing in an outdoor game for the first time in 2024. So, Charlie, let's start there. The Packers win this week against Detroit, if what?
I have the Lions beat themselves. I don't know. So it's hard because we've seen the Lions dominate. They've scored like 170 points over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Their offense has been going off the rails, so we need them to beat themselves, frankly. Jared Goff's been playing in MVP form. Mm-hmm. We need him to make mistakes. When it's 55 degrees and raining, that's about as bad as it gets. At least in my
20 miles
opinion.
an hour wind, too. That sounds miserable.
I'm going to be there. It's going to be bad.
You're going to be there, boots on the ground at Lambeau.
It'll be my third game this year, and it'll be the third uniform that I've seen the Packers wear and second time seeing Malik Willis live. So I've been treated every time at Lambeau.
Ooh, so you're already kind of with that feeling it will be Malik Willis then?
Well, I don't know. Well, Love practiced today, right?
Yeah.
So that makes me think he's going to play on Sunday, and like you were saying in the intro, the Packers know they have the bye week coming up. And then we come out and we've got a tough schedule. We open up with the Bears after the bye, and then I believe it's the Niners immediately after that. So we have to be healthy when we get off the bye. Have to. Yep. Evan Williams is out today or on Sunday. There's a million Packers that are questionable on the injury report. I think it's about getting to the bye week safe and healthy and all right. At the same time, I think they got to play Love. If he's 80%, I think you got to play him.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up because I think that, let's say if the Lions do win this week, is it time to shift expectations to just get into the playoffs? Because that Lions team, it feels like they're destined for 13 wins, and especially if they get this one, just get into the playoffs then and worry about trying to get them in that NFC divisional round or championship round, I imagine, right?
Especially with the NFC North having 3 or even 4 teams come out and make the playoffs. It's going to have to be 10 wins this year. Having already lost to the Vikings, and the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season is all divisional games. Whew, yeah. If we lose this weekend, I think, it'll be make the playoffs, get your 10 wins, make the playoffs, and go from there.
Well, yeah, plus those 4 division games down the stretch that we're talking about, 3 of them are road games. So this feels all the more important. 6-3, it feels great, especially the way the season started. The, I guess, concern about Jordan Love's durability, how he was going to play. You almost feel like with this injury report that they are almost very cognizant of that bye week. It almost feels like, hey, we're not going to be able to give them our biggest punch this week. Let's just worry about getting healthy, coming out of the bye fine, because this next 4 games coming up is the toughest of the entire season.
And that's the whole thing with it, though. With it being that the bye week's next week, I can see them. It's
like both sides. You can argue like, hey, get healthy for after the bye, or we can get healthy because of the bye.
Right. And so I think there's a real chance that, especially with the weather, having it be the Lions' first game outdoors, that they full court press this game. Xavier McKinney and Nixon in the locker room have been talking about how the Lions are disrespectful, how they run up the score on people, and how that's not going to fly on Sunday. I don't know why you give them any bulletin board material at all when they've scored 170 points in 4 weeks. We'll see. I think we'll be all right. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, ugly game, and I think that's the right script for the Packers to win this game.
Well, and I'll transition with mine then, because to me, if the Packers are going to win this next week, it's because they don't let Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, that two-headed monster, beat you. Because we mentioned the weather. The weather's going to be bad for everybody. If anything, it almost makes me happy that it's Malik Willis out there. Feels like a very run-heavy game plan's probably coming then. You just got to hope Josh Jacobs is healthy. But on the other side, I kind of want to see Jared Goff in this crappy weather go out and actually put together a game when you're not indoors playing with this monster group of an offense. Great offensive line, great skill position players. Jamison Williams is out. There's not going to be, outside of the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown, there's not a ton of, I guess, concern for me on the outside. I do want to ask you, though, pass rush has been a topic that we keep bringing up here. And the Packers pass rush on paper looks good. Mm-hmm. It feels like this team should be getting after the passer every week. They only sacked Trevor Lawrence once last week, hit him 4 times, over 30 dropbacks. Do you think at any point we're going to see this pass rush kind of become what we expected or even improve a little bit?
I think we will. Okay. I don't think it's this week. This week against the Lions' whole identity is the offensive line and defensive line. They want to win at the line of scrimmage. Ultimately, I don't think we're gonna. If we have Gary coming off the edge against Penei Sewell, what's that gonna do? It's not gonna look great.
He hasn't had a sack where he's been blocked this year.
Yeah.
Literally uncontested on his 2 sacks, and he was somebody like someone like Peter Schrager picked to win Defensive Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. And at some point, I almost wonder with the deadline coming up next week, even with it being a strong Lions offensive line, could we see Goody pick up the phone, even if it's not like the tier 1 guys, the Myles Garrett's, the Max Crosby's. You go tier 2, tier 3, Zadarius Smith, bring him back. You don't like that?
No,
head shaking already?
It's over. No, it's
over. You didn't want it back anymore?
No, it's over for him.
Oh, well, okay. Let's say it's not him. Could you see them picking up the phone and say, hey, even like a rotational like pass rusher to add to the mix? You think that's possible?
I think it's in the cards for sure.
Okay.
With the Packers, they've never really been a trading team, a team that does that, but the last couple of years, that has been Goody's move. And I guess going back to the pass rush, if we do win at the line of scrimmage and make Jared Goff uncomfortable in this outdoors game with the bad weather, that's the way we win. His interception to touchdown ratio indoors is 3.8, so 3.8 touchdowns to interceptions. Outdoors, it's 1.8. So he's significantly worse, and his completion percentage is 5 points lower. He's way worse outside with the elements. If we can make him uncomfortable in the pocket, make some out of structure plays happen, I think we'll be okay.
Well, this is almost interesting too, because you bring up the struggles outdoors in his career. It makes it feel like this game's all the more important because of not this game, but because of potentially the third matchup these teams have in the playoffs.
True.
Would you rather be playing in Lambeau, where you guys are a little bit more comfortable with those conditions, or do you want to go to Motown, play in a dome where that place last year, it felt like the roof was going to explode on that building?
Well, and the whole thing with Jared Goff and that was week 18 when the Lions beat the Packers to eliminate us from the playoffs. The whole conversation was Jared Goff stinks outdoors. He's not good enough. Blah blah blah. And then what did they do? They shut everyone up and they went to Lambeau in the snow and beat down on the Packers. They did. And man, I'm nervous. I'm nervous for this game. I am, but with the weather, it kind of gives me hope. As miserable as I'll be in the stands, it gives me hope that they can muck it up into a way that we can figure something out.
Ugly football, that's what we're looking for. Charlie Dern will be there. Boots on the ground. This is the Damn Sports Show. Call in 920-887-9595, 920-887-9595. We'll move on over to Badgers Talk. Before we get to Badgers Talk, I should point out, Jason Wilde will be back on next Wednesday and Friday. He had a last-second thing come up, so he had to bail on us today. So it was just you and I here driving Packers Talk to begin with. We'll get more Packers Talk, I'm sure, before the end of this show today. But we'll go to the Badgers now, who are in Iowa City playing the 5-3 Hawkeyes. Winner is bowl eligible. Let's start with the winning if thing yet again. The Badgers are going to walk into Iowa City, get the bowl eligibility, go to 6-3. If what, Charlie?
Most importantly, if they show up in the second half. That one, obvious. You have it here. We can get to that in a second. Most importantly, if they show up in the second half, for sure. We've gotten outscored like crazy in the second half. All Luke Fickell talks about is how they want to win in the fourth quarter. They want to show and wear teams down with how tough they are, and it hasn't been true at all. But at the same time, when we're playing Iowa, this is a team that's in our tier. when we've played teams that are above our tier, it's been beatdowns. Maybe except for USC, wherever you'd put USC.
Yeah, sure.
That one, we could have won that
Weird
game.
game, a weird game.
Yeah, we could have won that game. But when we've played, well, we got Oregon next week. But when we have to play these teams that are that next tier, Penn State, Alabama, it hasn't gone well. But when we've played teams in our tier, we're okay. So I think the Badgers will be okay here. Iowa's run defense is really good, and that's been a really big strength of the Badgers this year is Tyree Walker and being able to run the ball. They're not going to be able to run the ball on Saturday. They won't be able to, so they're going to have to pass the ball a lot.
I still am. I'm a big fan of the old school, ugly Big Ten football where it's 10-7. I love when Iowa and Wisconsin play because it is that 1970s, I'm just going to punch you in the mouth, you're going to punch back. Whoever is standing at the end of 4 quarters is winning the game. It kind of has changed. With Wisconsin in the last few years, the identity is shifting. And I'm almost curious going to, like you're mentioning, they're in the same tiers. Tier-wise, sure, but they're not kind of like the uniquely similar teams that we were used to where both teams are just saying, hey, if we don't turn the ball over, you're not going to score on us. We're going to play a field position game, getting a punt off, and just see you at the end in 3 hours. Do you worry about the fact that Iowa might just be a more physical football team, that Wisconsin won't be able to find the points to get a win in this game?
Oh, yeah, big time, especially with them on offense and their ground game. That's where they've been really good this year. I forget, is it Caleb Johnson, the running back? So. Yeah, he's going to be a pro. He's going to play on Sundays next year. So if we can control him, I think the Badgers will be just fine. Well, when I say just fine, I mean it's going to be a close game that we'll be in. I don't think we're going to be out of the game at any point. With it being a night game in Iowa, I don't know. It just
Kinnick at night is just wrong.
Yeah. Well, in like last week, we were watching the Badger game. We were at Stooges watching it. And it was just apparent we just didn't have the dogs, right? Like, we just didn't have those guys that were going to be at the next level. We don't have them yet. But it is what it is. And I don't know if that's an NIL thing or a portal, whatever. But I think the Iowa current structure of their program, we're still level at that area with them to where it kind of feels like a toss-up, too. I don't even know the line on this game. I'm going to pick the Badgers just as a homer.
I want to say it was 2.5. I'll double-check in the break and get us back on the other side. But it feels like a coin flip game either way you look at it. For me, it goes down to you have to be okay winning ugly because of the way these teams want to play football. And it felt like, we talked about that game we watched against Penn State. They were leading in the third quarter. Penn State had nothing going offensively, and somehow, some way, they still felt like they were pushing on offense. They threw the ball in 3rd and 14 with Braden Locke there, the pick 6 that completely changed the game.
That ended it.
If they don't throw that pick, who knows if Penn State ever gets anything figured out on offense. Instead, immediately you give them just an injection of life right there, and the game was over. And it goes into, you kind of teased it at the top of this segment, but they've been outscored in their 3 losses 70-10.
It feels worse than that.
It feels worse than that. And I guess you are a Badger graduate here. You're a Wisconsin guy. I'm curious because when you watch this team, is it a mentality thing? Is this like running out of gas? What is it that's happening in the second half of these games?
Yeah, I think it's, like I said, we just don't have the dogs. Don't have the dogs. Penn State wore us down completely. And like you were saying, that pick 6 completely changed the game. Once we lost momentum, it was over. It's like if a boxer, UFC fighter slips, you're just never going to recover from that.
Yeah, just kind of catching yourself staggering on the feet, and all of a sudden everybody's standing up in the crowd, like knockout coming. Yeah, you can't be showing that little stagger this week against Iowa. And it goes into what I'm saying. You got to be okay winning that punt off. Because if there's a team in the country that wants to win or play a punt off football game, it is Kirk Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes.
They've been scoring more, though.
They have. Well, all of a sudden, Brian Ferentz isn't there. Whoever could have seen that as a problem. Yeah. Now they're all of a sudden scoring and looking like a college football offense. But as it sits right now, I've got one more question we'll throw at the break. As it sits through 8 games, I'm just curious, what do you have the Badgers doing, or what do you want the Badgers to do at the quarterback position going into 25? Do you like letting Locke have a full offseason, come back into his junior year, or are you more of the mind, let's see what's out there in the transfer portal, get a veteran in here?
I'm more on Corey's side here. You got to develop guys. I know that in NIL, and they want to just do it's kind of like the Colts, just like plugging in quarterbacks, and
Just a rotation
it doesn't
every
really
year.
work. You got to develop these guys, and at the same time, I know the coaching from perspective of that, where you might develop this guy for a whole season, and you think he's great, and then he gets a better offer and transfers, and then now you got to start over again. So ultimately, I think we have to keep with Braden Locke. He's shown he can do it. It's not all there yet. I don't expect it to all be there at this point. He didn't expect to be in this position this year. Tyler Van Dyke, of course, didn't either, and that'll be another thing if he's allowed to come back or not. But if it's Braden Locke going into next year, I'm okay with it.
All right, well, then we will be coming to break. That'd be wild. But we are going to be going to break now. On the other side of this, we will have our very own Corey Sparks joining us en route to Beaver Dam's playoff game in Kaukauna. This is the Dam Sports Show on 1430 ESPN, Beaver Dam, and Daily Dodge TV. 1982, Charlie. That is the last time a Beaver Dam football team made it to the quarterfinals in the state tournament. They have an opportunity to change that tonight with an upset victory in Kaukauna, number 1 seeded Kaukauna, mind you. We now welcome on the most special guest because he's not a guest. You probably have heard of this guy before because he's usually sitting in this seat right here. Corey Sparks is on the drive to Kaukauna as we speak. Corey, is that an upset I smell in the air?
Yeah, first off, Wally, thank you very much for demoting me to guest. I'm honored to be here. Yeah, I think there's a real shot that Beaver Dam can go out and stun. They've got, you hit the nail on the head, a chance to do something for the first time since 1982. This is a team that, as you'd like to say it, is rewriting the history books. They got their first conference title since 1983, their first playoff win since 2011. I had the chance to talk to Coach Lindy earlier today, and he said there is a unit in that locker room, or that'll be in that locker room in about an hour, that truly does believe they can pull off something special tonight.
Well, then how about this? We start with that. What is the gauge right now? You've been talking to all these guys throughout the week. What does Beaver Dam have to do to come away with a big win in Kaukauna?
Yeah, I pulled this stat out the other day when we were actually at the YMCA of Dodge County for Halloween. Kaukauna's got 5 different individuals that weigh at least 300. Beaver Dam doesn't have a single one that's seeing that type of playing time right now.
It's absurd.
So control what's going on in the trenches, run the ball very well. Whoever's going to be in that backfield has to be effective. I know we saw Eli Bryant run it more than we really have all season and with effectiveness last game. So if they can control that battle in the trenches, look, they've got athletes on the outside. Ashton Seifert coming off a nice couple of games. Jeffrey Freund makes circus catch after circus catch. I think they actually are pretty evenly matched in the athleticism battle. It's going to be that battle in the trenches.
Well, you just brought up Eli Bryant. How about we get a little bit more of that last week, running the ball over 10 times, extending drives without much of an answer from the Blue Jays? Am I crazy to think that we should expect more of that today? Quarterback designed runs, getting him out of the pocket. What do you think Eli Bryant's going to do today?
Yeah, I don't think that's a stretch at all, Wally. Again, you hit the nail on the head. Eli's a big guy. He's almost 210 pounds, 6'3", a Division I athlete for baseball. He's going to put a 10. We've seen his arm on display pretty much all year. He's broken numerous all-time Beaver Dam records through the air. But to see him and his effectiveness on the ground last week, there was a play in the first half where we thought Beaver Dam was going to opt for a chip shot field goal against Menasha. Brock Lindy called the offense back out there, and in a critical 4th down scenario, Eli put his shoulder down, as he did many times, and drove through the line to gain. I don't think it's a stretch at all to see a loaded backfield and really see Beaver Dam kind of fill up personnel back there to try and help out a big, strong, athletic kid who showed that he can hurt you in multiple ways last week. I think that's really possible.
You mentioned, again, 1982s. This has been a historic season on a number of fronts, Corey. You've done a deep dive this week in preparation for that game you're calling tonight. Make sure you watch that. Daily Dodge TV or listen on 1430 ESPN. Beaver Dam starting at 640. This program is not used to this kind of success at this level. Can you kind of put into perspective just how special this 2024 Golden Beavers team is?
I mean, right. Think about it. 42 years. So there have been 41 other teams that have tried to do something to the effect of what this team is doing and have come up short. Some teams have been 1 game. Some teams have gone 2-7. Some teams have gone 1-8. Some teams have gone 5-5 and been a first-round exit, right? But the fact of the matter is all of them had the same goal, and this is a team that is closer to that goal than anybody we have seen in decades. Coach Lindy completely understands that. He's on the verge of breaking 500 in his coaching career. You want to talk about a program that he's really been able to turn around. Wally, I mean, this team had 10 straight losing seasons from 2012 to 2021. They break the 500 mark last year. They are 9-1 this year. And if you want to look back into the history books with that, this is just the 4th time a Beaver Dam football team has had 9 or more wins. There are so many people who have been invested in this program as a parent, as a player, as a coach, as an assistant, or maybe just as a community supporter that have not seen this level of success, maybe ever. It depends on how old they are, right? There are so many people I know, if you kind of throw the numbers back and forth against each other and look at the fact this is a 1 seed, there's a lot of people around the state that probably say Kaukauna is a heavy favorite here. Don't tell that to anybody in Beaver Dam who has seen this team perform firsthand. Coach Lindy said the goal is to go 1-0 every week. Well, they've done that 9 times out of 10 so far.
Corey, we've been talking game plans here. It's going to be 41 degrees at kickoff. What is your game plan to stay warm?
Yeah, after he came equipped with some hand warmers last time I was out there, so I'm kind of hoping he has those. If he doesn't, yeah, well, we'll kind of see. I've got a coat on, so we'll see how everything goes. I'm good with 41 without wind. If it's 41 and windy and it feels like 25, we'll see if I make it to work on Monday.
Well, it sounds like you don't really have a plan, which we kind of got to see a lot of last night. The candy draft, we'll talk a little bit more about with Charlie in a little bit. Corey, I just want to share this with you. You had the rare honor of being shut out on a Twitter poll. You did not receive a single vote for your drafted candy. Do you have any comment for the press at this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just shows, Wally, if you're really dedicated and you can find like 11 or 12 friends to vote and then just completely shadow ban the rest of the sample size of people who want to put an honest, hard-earned vote in there, you can rig anything if you put your mind to it.
Well, I've got one more Beaver Dam question for you, Corey, before we let you go and get ready for that call. You talked to Coach Lindy earlier today. This program has taken huge steps over the past few years. How is he feeling? How does he feel like the team is going into the biggest game of his young coaching career?
One of the first things he told me, Wally, is that he is so proud to be a coach of this team. He took over in 2020. He even told me that COVID year he almost wants to scrap it just because, yes, it was a great group of guys, but the whole preparation, the entire environment was weird, right? It was COVID. He said this has been a long time in the making, right? This has been a long time coming. There are freshmen who were on this team 3 years ago, who are seniors now, who were preparing to play at a high-caliber level, and they're finally there. So he said, this wasn't a one-year project. This is something that since he has come into Beaver Dam, he wanted to raise, set, and hopefully uphold the standard that they're playing at right now. But more than anything else, he said he is extremely proud to be these guys' coach. Now, that's not a swan song. They're not complacent. They love that they're 9-1. They love the season they've had, but they would also love to be in level 3 for the first time in 42 years.
All right, Corey, I'm going to leave you with this. This is your floor here if you want to say anything, because we had our first one-on-one basketball game last night. Hope you're icing up after that one. And then again, you got absolutely body bagged by me in the candy draft yesterday. Any final thoughts on that before we say goodbye for the day?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of putting opponent, giving them a false sense of security. So the fact that you've got a 1-0 lead in basketball, it's good. That video is going to go up on Daily Dodge TV in a couple of days here. I've already been watching film. The adjustments have been made. I mean, it's curtains from here, so congrats on taking me to free game.
You can hear our very own Corey Sparks with Coach Ladrin on the call tonight on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam with coverage starting at 6:40. Corey, come home with the win or don't come home at all.
Okay. Great. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, Corey. Have a great weekend, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, so, Charlie, I have to – people that might have missed yesterday's show, you were there at the YMCA for that live show we did. We did a live candy draft. I was defense. Corey was offense, 11 picks each. I'm not crazy to say, Corey, it looked like he was throwing that draft, right?
It looked like it. If you just see the picture and you don't see who voted first, who voted second, if it was snake or standard draft, you would think that he threw it. And he's talking about you mobilizing your troops to go out and vote. Where are his people? Why isn't he
There's
sending
nobody that's willing to mobilize and put their name on that, even if it's an anonymous poll. Would you feel comfortable voting for a team that took Werther's, that took Dum Dums, that has Hershey's chocolate as the second overall pick they had? Like, what is that?
Werther's at left tackle is just a disaster.
Oh, Kit Kats is going to set the single-game sack record.
Yeah.
Not even close. So, Corey, I mean, we're going to have to teach. It doesn't shock me, though. Corey looks like the type that's probably had 6 pieces of candy in his entire life.
I was going to say he confirmed that he's not a candy guy. I'm a big candy guy. Gummies preferred. I love candy, and so I was confident, and I almost did it. I think I might be able to make an 11 that's better than his out of the remaining candy that's out there.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely free agents. It's wild right now. Rolos were out there. I mean, even like bad candy, like Smarties, was better than half of the stuff that I've... Dum Dums is a pick in 22 on purpose to take that little tiny worthless sucker you get at a dentist's office.
Or at least go like Tootsie Pop or Blow Pop to where
That's
there's like something to it.
It wasn't even the best sucker.
No.
The Jolly Rancher ones are 10 times better. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable.
And more popular on Halloween.
They are. The green apple. He was even having one earlier today, and he's like, maybe I should have picked this. This is pretty good. Nicely done, Corey. Appreciate you, buddy.
At least he knows that he has one hater in Wally Lukaczynski.
Oh, he'll always have a hater in me. That is brutal. And then, you know what? I can not only he hinted there, I wasn't even going to spoil it. Did I hit like a 24-footer to end the game last night, 1-0? Big fella stretch 5? Yeah, maybe I did. I don't know.
Was that at the 58-minute mark of that game?
It felt like it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a defensive Big Ten basketball game, like a 40-37 kind of looking Wisconsin versus like Rutgers in January.
I played an entire game of threes with other people in the middle of your game, and we still finished before you guys did.
In my defense, we were playing 1s and 2s to 21.
That's crazy.
Who does that?
I don't know how you guys decided on that rule.
I'm a big guy. That is like trying to kill me. By the end of that game, I hit the shot more out of like it was like fight or flight. I was just trying to survive and get out of that building at that point. But when we come back, more Beaver Dam football. We'll jump also into that Columbus-West Salem Level 2 matchup as well. That game also on Daily Dodge TV tonight at 6:40. We are the Dam Sports Show on 1430 ESPN, Beaver Dam, and Daily Dodge TV. Beaver Dam, biggest game since 1982, an opportunity to go to the quarterfinals for that first time in over 40 years. But before we get to that, it's going to be a big weekend for sports. The Badgers are going to be playing on NBC, but how would I have figured that out if I didn't already know, Charlie?
You can watch it all on the Where to Watch app. That's where I catch everything. I wasn't privy to the Where to Watch app prior to like a couple weeks ago. Now that I have it, it's all in front of me. I've got it all right here on my phone.
It's literally a sports TV guide. I keep bringing up Maction because who thinks about what am I going to be doing on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock? You can watch Buffalo play, like Kent State. Get a big game like that, and you don't know where it's going to be. It's going to tell you right there. It's on ESPN 2. You're going to have like Beth Mullins on the call. It's going to be a great day.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all in the Where to Watch app. NHL, it just started up. I've been watching a lot of hockey. My Maple Leafs, where do I find them? Where to Watch app.
There you go. Too easy. Ellipses top right corner on the browser for me. I'm an old man. Or you can go on the app like the young bucks like Charlie and Corey over here. Probably smarter, but that's okay. You can do the old man route like me and the ellipses in the up right top of the corner. Beaver Dam fans, though, in Kaukauna tonight, if you want to make that trip, $6 cash at the door. You still can go. Game's a couple hours away. But $6, that's what you got to do at the gate. No credit cards accepted, so make sure you have your cash in hand. But, Corey, let's jump Corey, this is unfortunate. I'm used to talking to my other co-host here.
Your guest, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. My guest, Corey Sparks. But we do have a massive game, as we've been alluding to. We're going to pop up numbers now if you're looking at it on Daily Dodge TV. But both of these offenses have scored a lot of points this year. They love to throw the ball around. If you actually see these stats, very, very similar kind of makeups for these teams at least.
This is definitely the first time I've seen a team, and I'll be honest, I wasn't the most on top of it during the regular season. This is the first time I've seen Beaver Dam play a team that's thrown more than them.
That's exactly right. It doesn't happen this year. In Kaukauna, it helps when you have those 300-pound plus monsters on the offensive line. It feels like one of those D1 teams. You basically have a college offensive line for Kaukauna here, so that will be a big challenge. One of the things that Brock Lindy has been preaching this year, though, is winning that turnover battle. You can see it here on the graphic. +9 for the Golden Beavers, +4 for the Galloping Ghosts. I should point out, coolest mascot in the state of Wisconsin.
Gotta be.
It's so cool. Also have that statue out front. It's like Ichabod Crane, I keep saying, the Headless Horseman. It's Halloween week. That's not fair. They should have to remove the statue. Shouldn't have that for Halloween. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little biased today.
I know, and I'm kind of thinking in my journalism mode of headlines, with Halloween, and it's like spooked and stuff like that. Like you want to get away all the demons, and I'll ask you this: is it Beaver Dam's defense generating more turnovers, or is their offense just not turning it over at all?
It's actually a bit of both. Their offense, up until about the midway point, they had not thrown an interception on the year. And their first one was an arm punt on 3rd and 20 at the 35. And in high school football, what are you going to do at the 35? You throw it long, you ain't punt it there. Mm-hmm. So, the defense has been great, too. Very aggressive after the ball. Last week, we actually saw Parker Blank with what Corey called a Malcolm Butler-like play, intercepting a pass off on the 1-yard line. They ended up driving down the field after that to go up 2 scores. Very, very strong Beaver Dam defense, but their biggest test of the year. I don't even know what you do with an offensive line like that. I don't even know what the game plan is to go in there, and you can't out-physical a team like that. You just got to be in the right position and hope to make plays.
When you guys were telling me about the linemen, the 300-pound linemen, I was assuming, okay, they have 400 rushing yards per game. And you guys are like, no, that's the whole thing. They throw the ball a ton. So then that's where I just kind of throw my hands up. Like, how do you even game plan for that? Because I was assuming you stack the box and you just hope that you can get enough guys to crash in and make a play. When they're throwing the ball around, I don't know how you get to the quarterback and maybe some blitzing. It's
going to be
crazy.
tough. Yeah, because this is going kind of the vein of how we started the show, how we do every Friday with the Badgers win if, the Packers win if. I was kind of thinking in the same vein because I get almost everybody outside of this small town in the state of Wisconsin has Kaukauna tonight, and they have them rolling them. It's been, frankly, almost disrespectful to the team here because of how strong they have been. I don't think it's going to be, maybe they might not go in with the favorite here, but this isn't a team that's going to roll over. The question for me is, you get the Ghosts off schedule on offense, make them throw the ball. I know that they like to, But at least I feel like with the weather and the conditions they are, you can't afford to give this team who's got 3 players averaging over 5.9 yards a carry to run the ball at will. Last week against Pulaski, they trailed 6-0 after the first quarter and then said, you know what, screw it. We're going to run the ball down their throat. Let's just get out of here with a win and not be cute. Don't allow them to do that again today.
Corey said they averaged like 8 yards per carry last week. Like,
it was absurd.
That's a lot. And it makes me think, like, will Beaver Dam, I don't want to use the term desperate, but will they have some plays up their sleeve, some trickery, some other things going on to where they're just trying to make it chaos, throw in variables, just throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks.
And at any age, it doesn't matter if you are the underdog, if you're going into a hostile environment, it sounds like it's going to be very hostile. It's going to be a raucous crowd out there tonight. You have to get a lead early and you got to play clean football. If you are undersized, which they're going to be undersized in this game, go out there, commit as few penalties as possible, stay ahead of schedule on offense. They didn't punt the ball last week. If they're able to at least score with Kaukauna, maybe, who knows, maybe they get a shootout winner here. It's just you can't afford them to get comfortable running the ball in this game, or it's going to be a long night.
This reminds me a lot of that game that I've talked a lot about on the air, that playoff game against Watertown that we went into my senior year and we lost like 48-0. We were a little bit mentally soft as a team, but we got there. The fans were honest from the beginning. They were relentless. They didn't let up, and we let it get to us. As soon as they scored the first big play touchdown, game was over. Yeah. And they just ran away with it because we weren't tough enough to get back off the floor, get back off the mat, and bounce back and throw punches. So Beaver Dam's got to do that.
Last week, Beaver Dam's fans were very, very supportive. They traveled. They actually felt like a home game at Menasha. It's a pretty close drive. You imagine it's going to be a pretty loud crowd there. Hopefully they can rally behind them as well. But then let's flip over to our other hometown area team here. Columbus, the number 2 Columbus Cardinals, will be hosting number 3 West Salem. You and I talked last Friday about this rush attack with Columbus, and they could have ran the ball a lot more. You were there in person, boots on the ground for that game. It felt like every 5 seconds I was looking at my phone. Another text from Charlie Dern. It's 35-0. It's 42-0. They scored again, nonstop.
I was, texting Corey and Wally asking about when the running clock gets going because I was like, this is getting out of hand.
This is ridiculous.
The thing about it, though, I was expecting them to just run every play. They were throwing it around a lot.
Really?
And I wasn't sure if that was throw the scent off of the other teams or what. I mean, they did run the ball a lot, but they threw it more than I thought.
When you have a team like that, like Columbus, in a position in these playoff games, makes sense to kind of sprinkle in something new. Mm-hmm. Like you said, almost is throw off these other teams. West Salem's a really good team, 9-1, only lost 2 Aquinas this year. Maybe they're focused a little bit more on the pass. Maybe not as much time devoted to that rush attack.
Maybe because it felt like at least last week they were very lenient on the quarterback, very lenient. And the whole season, Mike Tronson and everyone's telling me about the running back that they have and how he's really good. And he was really good. He was very good. But they used the quarterback a lot more than I had anticipated.
Sure.
If West Salem can get to him today, make him uncomfortable, it's kind of the same recipe that we've been talking about with all these games. Is if you can make the quarterback's job hard, you can create a lot of other things to go your way.
I feel like we've become almost enemies to the state of the WIAA on this show, and that's not what I'm trying to do. They have a hard job, and they do a really good job. We just got frustrated with a couple of the matchups here. But because of them being a 2 seed, they are going to have to play West Salem now, while Aquinas gets a 4 seed at home and will be awaiting, likely, the winner of this Columbus game. If Columbus is going to go to state the way Hunter Vaughn projects that they will, they're going to have to run the gauntlet. Beat a very good West Salem team, go to Aquinas, beat them for the 2nd time in the year. We know how hard it is to beat a team twice in the same year, not to mention 3 hours away, and all of that just to get to the state semifinal. You have to beat 3 then defending state champions this year just to get to the state semifinal. It's a big ask for Columbus, a team that it feels like has had an answer for everything all year. But we will be throwing it to break now. We will be coming back with our Friday picks. We'll be figuring out whether the Packers are able to upset. Would you call it an upset?
Yes.
Yeah, if they're able to upset Detroit, if the Badgers are able to get the Bull eligible in Iowa City, and speaking of upsets, I guess we can't do Beaver Dam pick here. Well, that's fine. We'll kind of hint at it. We're rooting for them. Everybody knows that. But then we'll get into our final game as well. This is the Dam Sports Show on 1430 ESPN, Beaver Dam, and Daily Dodge TV. It is time for our Friday picks, Charlie, and I'll set the scene for you. Corey this year, 12-6, looking good. Charlie coming in here, big boom. That's probably like a 3 or a 4 boom.
That's 4 booms right there.
4 booms for him. How many booms do you get for 4 and 2?
I'm giving myself 4 booms. 5 booms would be undefeated.
That's fair. I think that's a credit to you. Mm-hmm. That's accountability. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess mine would be a doom then, because Wally is 7-11 through 6 weeks of picking. And it ain't the gas station. It ain't a good thing. 7-Eleven. We're struggling out of the gates here, Charlie. But we're fine. 2-1 the last 2 weeks. I'm basically white hot. And we'll start here with Wisconsin traveling to Kinnick Stadium for that night game under the lights. Corey has Wisconsin winning. Do you agree with Corey Sparks?
I do.
Really? Let's go. All right.
I mean, I'm not going to get on this show and pick Iowa, to be completely fair to myself and the listeners. It's going to be Wisconsin. I don't know. I don't even feel that great about it. I'm going to pick Wisconsin. Iowa's won 2 straight against us. We're kind of due to get one back. I don't know. These games, like we've talked about, they're always kind of 50-50 who's going to win or who's going to, like, I don't know. I don't want to say make less mistakes, but that's what it feels like when you're punting at your own at the Iowa 45 to pin them down inside the 5, and that's the kind of game you're playing. It kind of becomes a field goal battle, and it's a coin flip for me. I'm going Wisconsin as a homer.
I expect this to be a punt off, and you can't pick anybody in the world but Iowa in a punt off. I'm sorry, guys. I think my trust has been ruined with the Badgers program. I feel like I've picked them 3 times this year, and it's just coincidentally every time I shouldn't be picking this team.
Yeah.
And now the trust is gone. That pick from Braden Locke, you saw me. We were at Stooges together. That place, you and I, we were all fired up. Jake Hayes sitting next to us. Vibes are high. Energy's high. It was like the whole place, the energy got sucked out of that building. Gone.
Vacuum. That was the end of the game. It
was. And then we've seen it again. We talked about the outscoring in the second half, 70-10. We talked about last month, Rutgers, could they out-physical Wisconsin on the show together? The more things change, more things stay the same, because we're talking about the same thing with Iowa. I've got more faith in how well coached they are, how physical they are. I hope I'm wrong, but I have Iowa winning kind of an ugly old-school Big Ten game, 20-10.
I can't blame you at all for that, and losing your confidence in them or just moving away from the Badgers. I can't blame you for it at all, especially watching these last games. But going back to what I was talking about earlier, we're playing a team in our own tier. That's where I feel safe. If I'm back on next week and we're talking about Oregon, I'm going to pick Oregon.
You're no longer in your safe space.
That is outside of our tier where we've proven we don't have the dogs to hang with those guys. When it's Iowa, I think we can handle business.
How about the Motor City Kitties, the Detroit Lions in Lambeau, boots on the ground? You're in person. I got to imagine you're in person. There's no way you're picking the Lions to get a win here.
Absolutely not. It will be a little bit quarterback dependent, of course. Love plays. I'm picking the Packers. Even if Malik Willis plays, I'm still kind of confident in the Packers. We're at home. And if Love plays, what's the line? The Lions by 1 point?
Probably.
It's already at 3, and they don't know if Love's playing or not. He practiced today. It's at 3. We're not 3-point underdogs to the Lions. I know they're very good, but they're due for a regression. They've scored 170 points in 4 games or whatever. I've used that number like 5 times. I don't think it's correct. They've scored a lot of points in 4 games.
If you say it enough and you say it with your chest like you did, I've been believing it. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. Absolutely.
If the Packers muck this up, we win the game.
Okay.
I think we do.
Make it gross. It's going to be gross weather. There's no reason to think it won't be gross football. I will say I'm worried because I'm so torn. If talk about war with yourself over a game, of all the Packers games I feel like I've picked this year, this is the first time that I really didn't feel comfortable going one way or another. I did go with the Lions just because I feel like the Packers are going to kind of be conservative with their approach on playing certain people, even with the weather like it is. I don't think it's going to slow down the Lions enough. I think the Lions will get over the hump here, but it's all going to be about the third matchup these teams have, wherever that is, because I do think these teams play in January. So I'm not worried about it, but I do have the Lions today, and unfortunately Corey Sparks does as well. We'll go to Corey Sparks, Chicago Bears. What about that news? He unveiled that on the show this last week. A Bears fan. Charlie, I know you've had fun with him this last week. Where are you going with this game?
I love the Bears this week. I love the Bears.
Do you?
I'm telling you, like, I've been on the Bears futures. I really like the Bears this year. I'm a Packers fan. I know that that's sacrilegious to say it. I've bet on the Bears multiple times this year. I had them big against the Commanders. That was heartbreaking. But at the same time, the best way to lose a bet is when the Bears lose on a Hail Mary.
It's like you're paying for happiness.
Yeah, it was perfect. I was fine paying for that price. That was wonderful. But I've got the Bears big here. I don't like the Cardinals. I think that they're a little bit overrated. They're 4-4 now at the top of the division, technically. I don't think that it's really fair, and I think the Bears are due for a bounce back. It's also very possible that the Bears season ended that night against the Commanders.
That's the thing. I'm so torn because a game like this, whenever you have such an emotional defeat, one of two things happen. They're going to come out like bats out of hell, and they're going to beat up on Arizona, or they might roll over and die.
Yeah.
In a way that it seems like there's a lot of internal strife, whether even just in the city, the coaching staff. People are having a lot of questions about the staff, even at the 5-3 record at this point. It makes me feel like it is kind of like a powder keg for the worst possible thing to happen for Chicago. And for that reason, I'm disagreeing with you and Charlie. He is the Bears as well. I'm going with the Cardinals outright. I think we see the beginning of the end of the Bears season.
Completely fair. I totally feel like there's a chance that this thing unravels and that the team gives up on Eberflus and Shane Waldron and that the Bears need to redo their coaching staff once again and we restart the cycle. And now Caleb Williams has coach 2. Very possible. It's all very possible. I think the Bears bounce back.
Well, this is also hilarious, and it's the difference between teams like the Packers and the Bears, is that the Bears now have a rookie quarterback that people would kill for. And instead of having kind of continuity, having a stable place, you're going to be looking at potentially a new staff. Who knows what kind of changes they're going to make? Keenan Allen's probably gone. Who knows what you have? It just feels like such a Chicago Bears thing to have a potential franchise-altering quarterback, and they can't figure out the coaching.
All off season long, all we heard, best position a rookie quarterback's ever been put into. Best play. Just throw it away. Just throw it away. The whole franchise.
What's coming up tonight? We have the Friday night kickoff show here at 6 o'clock after Homer Hour on 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. And at 6:40, we have a couple matchups for you on ESPN in Daily Dodge TV. We have Beaver Dam at Kaukauna, and then at the same time, West Salem at Columbus. Charlie, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's go watch some football tonight, huh?
Always a great time. Yeah, let's have a great football weekend.
Absolutely. This is the Dam Sports Show. Go Beaver Dam, and we will see you guys on Monday night.
Might have a remote control. You could pause or